All right. The Fed Chair Jerome Powell basically stated that he wants to correct the housing markets. So they have been raising the Fed fund rate. They want to lower inflation. What type of effect does that have on the housing market? How much of an effect can they have on the housing market? And what does that mean for us here in San Diego? That is exactly what we are talking about. And in order to talk about this, I brought on my good friend, Bern McGovern. How you doing today, Bern?
I'm doing well, Dan. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to figure out my new soundboard here. How'd that intro sound? Was that pretty good?
It sounded great, man. You did a great job.
Cool. Well, when I get really excited, something you say, Bern, we're gonna do a little bit of this.
We got sound effects. This is just changed YouTube forever right now.
I know. I just got to get a little bit smoother at them. Still trying to figure it out, but hey, we're working on it. So for anyone that is watching, anyone that is listening live, we always like to start off with just letting us know where you are watching from. We get people from San Diego. We get people from across the U.S. We get people in Canada. We've had people reach out from Europe, from all over the place. So it's really interesting to see where you're tuning in from. And kind of what you can expect today is we're going to bring up a couple of recent articles talking about some headlines and what exactly is going on out there. And then we're going to get into kind of boots on the ground of what we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. And of course, we're going to answer your questions along the way. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Whatever questions you have along the way, let us know. So let's get right into it. If I can share my screen here. Well, Bern, tell us, how has real estate been for you lately? I mean, you've been, we both work a lot. We work a lot with buyers. We have different sellers recently as well. What have you been experiencing in this market?
So what I've been experiencing is there are a lot less buyers out there than there were 6 months ago. I think we've talked about this a little bit in recent months, but I feel like, the rates just keep going up. So there's just you're not seeing the bidding wars, which is a good thing for buyers at least, but You're going to be paying, even if prices have dipped, which they have. And I just did a video recently, like which neighborhoods have dipped the most in like North County, San Diego, and some dipped as much as 15%. Yeah. So, but even a 15% decrease doesn't really make up for the, 2% interest rate increases, because there's 1% equal up to like a 10% difference in purchasing power, basically. So, So I've seen it from 5% to 15%, and depending on what neighborhood, the ones that have gone down the most, I feel like, are the ones that had the most appreciation over the last 2 years too. So
it's been interesting to watch, and it's interesting because some of those neighborhoods you're talking about, we had maybe a 30% year-over-year appreciation from 1 year to the next, and then all of a sudden it's come down from that 30% down to 15. So we're still year-over-year ahead in all of these neighborhoods that you're talking about. It's really interesting, like you were saying, how it can be centralized from one community to the next, and just following the rules of, what neighborhoods are really important, or like what neighborhoods are the best for investing in, like what neighborhoods have the best schools, and they have universities, and are just known for being nicer neighborhoods. And those tend to hold better value than most.
Yeah, there's a reason why those ones went up so much in the first place, is because they are probably the most desirable places to live in all of San Diego. So,
all right. So we have William. What's going on, William?
Atlanta, Georgia.
From Atlanta, Georgia. I thought you're down in Chula Vista. You're in Atlanta, Georgia today. There we go.
I just had a client come out here recently from Atlanta, and he brought me a 6-pack of Atlanta beers. So it was very, very generous of him.
Sounds like a very nice guy. All right. Lyrical is watching from sunny San Diego. We got a couple San Diegans. We got someone, Lyndon.
Lyndon. I know Lyndon.
Hey, what's going on, Lyndon? Where in the East Coast?
He was, I know I'm drawing a blank where he was. Was it Connecticut? I forget, Lyndon.
So let's talk about what's going on. This is a very interesting article where it basically... what's interesting is Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he's been very, very aggressive. He's been very clear that he wants to get inflation numbers down. But what's interesting about the most recent time that they interviewed him was that he basically was starting to say, not only does he want to get inflation down, but he will do it at any cost. And he more than hinted that he would be very happy to see a housing correction take place. So it's, did you catch a lot of it?
I don't think he hinted at it. He's like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can pull up the quote.
I forget what his exact words were, but they were pretty, like, if it happens, it happens.
Pretty explicit. So it's interesting to see because they're pretty much dead set on getting inflation numbers down. But when they're talking about the housing market and how they're going to affect the housing market and what we're actually seeing happen, of course, like Bern said, we're seeing prices start to come down as rates are going up. Then you also have this correlation where when they when they raise or lower the Fed fund rate, that is not directly correlated with mortgage rates either. So yes, they are indirectly correlated. If the Fed fund rate continues to go up, mortgage rates will continue to go up because it is a more risky type of investment. But the interesting thing about the mortgage rates is they're kind of predicted ahead into the future. So if they expect the Federal Reserve to increase the Fed fund rate a certain amount over the course of 6 months or a year, then they're going to account for that pretty much right up front. So you'll see a lower or a softer increase rate on the mortgage rates. So basically, we've seen lots of different increases over the course of the year. And what I should do next time, Bern, is actually show exactly when the Fed raises their Fed fund rate and when that's correlated with this map here, because I know that
it usually happens like a week or two before, or even farther than that. Sometimes it's like a month before. If they know they're going to raise them, the mortgage companies raise their rates before we even get to that announcement. So when you hear like, oh, it's going up, it doesn't go up that day. It's already gone up like 3 weeks before that. So
yeah, so it's been very interesting to see. But there are some when you really start to break it down, what's happening, it's very, very interesting. So of course, as mortgage rates go up, as affordability goes down pretty significantly, the demand goes down. There's no question. Demand starts to go down. But obviously we have supply and demand. Sure. If they're trying to crash the housing market, if they're trying to correct the housing market, there's still this inventory issue. The supply versus demand. The supply isn't there. It hasn't been there. So just making the affordability on it a little bit less attainable, making it less affordable is having a very unique effect on the market. You would think right now the inventory would continue to rise at this point in the year. But what I'm seeing, and I'm interested if you're seeing the same thing, Bern, absolutely. There are fewer buyers out there. But you know what? Who wants to sell right now?
Well, that's the thing. I think we're never going to get the increase in inventory unless people want to sell, or because nobody really wants to do a sideways move right now.
Yeah.
Or an upgrade or a downgrade just because they have to sell at a little bit of a dip, but then they could also buy at a little bit of a dip too. But they also don't want to, if they have it locked in at a 3% interest rate on their current house, it's hard for them to justify going to even if it's a little bit less expensive now, to a 6% interest rate going forward.
Yep.
So I just don't know when we're going to get out of this, because the inventory it's going to be, even though inventory is up a little bit, it's nowhere near where we need it to be like a more balanced market. It's a funky market right now that, it doesn't know where it wants to go, sort of thing.
Now we come on here to try and give some insight and kind of our analysis of what's going on. Obviously, we have no idea what the heck is going to happen 6 months, 12 months, 2 years from now. Like there's so many variables, but it's very interesting to see exactly what you're saying of if you were to sell your house right now, let's say you even have 50% equity in your house. If you sell that house at a 3% rate and then you buy another property, the property taxes are up. And then you also have to get a 6 or 7% rate on your mortgage. That's a massive, massive change in the affordability. So that is exactly what we're seeing. It's interesting right now. Now, of course, every time this time of year, every year, we start to see inventory starting to decline. So that is normal. But if you look here, this is another interesting graph. So this is San Diego County homes pulled off the market. Now this goes back to 2000. So this is going back pretty far. And obviously we had the housing market crash here. But if you look at what's happening right now, so the homes pulled off the market was
I haven't used this website. What is this one?
This is Reports on Housing. I'll send you a special link afterwards.
Thanks, appreciate it.
So at the end of, looking through 2020, 2022, it was a very, very hot market. It was a very hot seller's market. So of course, people weren't pulling their homes off because they were getting wherever the heck they wanted. Then we got to this point, and my friend of the show, Derek Evans, was saying he was saying back in May, like, yes, May, June, yes, we're seeing more homes hit the market. But a lot of these are unrealistic sellers that like really they're not super motivated. And when they don't get the price that they want to get, because they're just trying to time the market, they're going to decide to do other things with that home. They're going to decide not to move. They're going to decide to rent it out. They're going to decide to do other things with it. And that's exactly what we're seeing with this sharp spike here of homes that are pulled off the market. Now, also keep in mind, when you have these bigger spikes in other moments, that's because there were more homes on the market.
Mm-hmm.
When this is at 1,000 homes are pulled off the market, and there's only just barely over 4,000 homes active inventory, that's a pretty dang big percentage of homes that's getting pulled off the market.
For sure. I actually had a client back in, I think it was May or June. What month are we in now? October. And we put an offer on 2 different houses, and this was 2 weeks in a row. And both houses, they didn't get the price that they wanted, so they took it off the market. So this is exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very interesting. Like, this market doesn't know which way it wants to go, and with the rates keep going up, it's just everyone's just waiting it out at this point. I think
that's the thing is there are a lot of people. I can tell you, I've been having as many people reach out to me as I've always had wanting to buy a house. But the people that are buying cash, they're a lot more active right now because obviously the rates aren't affecting them. The people that need to get a mortgage on their home, they're ready and sitting on the sidelines for an opportunity. Sure. And guess what happens if rates are going to come down or prices significantly come down? They're hopping back into the market, and then that's going to be more demand. And then we have this inventory issue. So yes, it might be a situation where more people are willing to sell, but we just don't have enough homes here in San Diego.
Let me ask you a question, Dan. So, if say hypothetically, say you were wanting to buy a house right now, would you rather have a house at a 15,000 or a 15% decrease from its peak back in, say, May or June, right now, with a higher interest rate and with the opportunity to refinance in 6 months, a year and a half, something like that? Would you risk it to do that?
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's situation is going to be personal, and you should really run the numbers and consider the worst case scenario.
But I can tell you, Dad, I'm not asking the whole world. I'm asking you.
that's totally fine. So yes, absolutely. I can tell you that we're looking into buying a house right now. We sold our house back in October. We bought an investment property. We're kind of loosely looking to either relocate our primary residence or buy investment property right now. Sure. And we're not too scared about the rates because we know when rates come back down, the market's going to be very competitive again. Home prices are going to go up again. So we're willing to get in at a higher rate. We're willing to risk an adjustable rate mortgage. And again, I feel like it's a pejorative of we're saying adjustable rate mortgage and ARM. It's like, warning signs. I need some warning signs on here. Don't ever get an adjustable rate mortgage. But yes, you should be cautious, but these are not the same adjustable rate mortgages that were happening in 2008 and 2009.
For sure.
They're just not. We're talking about 7 to 10 years of a fixed rate. And I am willing to bet that either in 7 to 10 years, rates are going to come down. I really, truly think in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a major opportunity to refinance. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't, I'm willing to bet in that period of time, things will be costing less money. We'll be more comfortable with that mortgage.
For sure.
We're not going to be as concerned about what's going on. So,
it's scary. I get why people are resistant to that, just because it's very scary to not know where the rates are going to be in 1, 2, or 3 years from now. So, I think it's a little bit easier for us because we are in this industry and we see it every day, so we can jump on it immediately. Like, most of these people that are buying houses don't work in real estate. Obviously, all our clients typically, which is why they're using us, and we see it every day. So if they're doing their job, they're not paying attention to it as much as we do. But good thing if you work with a good real estate agent, they'll let you know when is a good time to refinance too. So
absolutely.
I would be willing to do it, but I understand why people don't want to do it.
Yep. All right. Will is saying, great idea. I think that's on the beer that was brought from
it was a great idea.
From Georgia. Sarah asking if we're from Chula Vista. We're not from Chula Vista, but Mr. Will lives in Chula Vista now.
That's right.
Lyndon MD.
Oh, Maryland. That's right. I knew that, Lyndon. Sorry, man.
All right. Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Hey, I know him too.
M.A. Gracing, what do you guys believe Bonsall and South Fallbrook will come down to? I think that those markets that are a little bit on the outskirts have the highest chance of coming down the fastest. And I think that's what we're seeing in Riverside right now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not as in tune with
I don't really follow
Riverside
Riverside
market,
quite as much as San Diego.
yeah.
What do you guys believe bonds will come down to? I mean, I think it'll come down. Again, those aren't my, my biggest focus, Bonzel, but they'll probably be similar to like a 10 to 12%, something like that is my guess. But again, I don't follow that as much.
Yeah, and if, like you were saying in the beginning, it's definitely neighborhood specific. And when I'm looking at places like Carlsbad, I have clients out of a very nice budget to get into Carlsbad right now, and there's just no inventory. It's like it's still a very, very hot market.
Yeah, they're North County in general is still very, very hot. But out of the offers you put in recently, you just did one that had multiple offers on it, right? You were telling me about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can tell you, and this will segue nice into this article here. So San Diego house prices plunge. I can tell you, yes, prices are coming down because they shot up so dang fast, and then the market has gone wonky. But the reality is, the last two offers I put in were both over asking, and neither of those offers got accepted. They were very, very strong offers. Neither of them got accepted.
Yeah, the last one. So I had a listing that went 5K under asking. I had one buyer got about 20 grand under asking. And then what was my third one I just did recently? Another one was at asking. So, but it really doesn't really matter if it's above or below. It depends how they price it a lot of times too. So
that is another aspect of it as well. If you see, no matter what, if you're set up on home search and there all of a sudden is this beautiful home that just is so much better than the other homes, guess what? It's probably underpriced, and that is what we run into a lot.
Like if this one's 1,000 square feet bigger, but it's the same price as the ones that are 2,500 square feet, then they just underprice it to create that bidding war. Although even in this market, that's even a little bit risky to go underprice it a little bit. Sometimes even if you underprice it, you're not getting like a flood of offers too. So
yeah, you definitely need to be careful. This is a very, very important time to price appropriately and pay attention to the market. And it's okay if it goes 1 or 2 or 3 weeks before you get that offer in. But you have to really keep an eye on things and make sure that the flow of traffic is coming into your house that you need.
For sure.
Sura wants to know, is this similar to what happened back in 2009? What do you think, Bern?
I would say no. I mean, prices are dipping. I guess that's one similarity. But those were people were putting zero money down with ARMs, which we were just talking about, ARMs, which is adjustable rate mortgages. And you did not have to show any documentation that you were able to afford this said home. Now the lending restrictions now are much more strict than they were back in 2009. They would give anyone that, like you said, had a pulse a loan. So the only similarity, in my opinion, is prices have dipped a little bit here. So and they dipped, what was it, like 40% or something back in 2008, something like that. Depending on the neighborhood, obviously. But and then the people were foreclosing because they could not afford the payments, and the ARMs finally expired, and then the rates went up to the prevailing rates. I mean, there was multiple reasons why that happened, and the housing market actually caused that crash. This one is more just inflation, just the things that are going on in the market. So actually pretty different in my opinion. So
I mean, it's very different. And that's what makes all this so difficult, is trying to predict what's going to happen. And then also having that as being the freshest thing in our mind. Like, that was the biggest housing market collapse in modern history that caused a recession. Right now we're in a recession, and we're trying to figure out how that's going to affect the housing market. The biggest differences with 2008, 2009 is, number one, that was the greatest oversupply of homes in U.S. history. The greatest oversupply of homes in U.S. history.
Which we don't have right now.
Right now, we have the greatest undersupply of homes in U.S. history. And then number two, people were buying homes that couldn't really afford those homes.
Sure.
So when home prices started to come down, the people that own those homes, what they needed to do was sell their homes because they couldn't afford them. They couldn't. So those homes were getting foreclosed on. And then we had a lot of foreclosures. I mean, you can see right now there's basically zero foreclosures in San Diego right now. And part of that is because home prices have gone up so aggressively that even if someone bought a year ago, they're still ahead of where they were a year ago.
Yeah, I think I saw one like a week ago somewhere. I forget where it was.
So yeah, it's different for a lot of it. It's a great question because it's what's freshest in our minds. And it's when we get clients or we get people reaching out and saying, you know what, I'm just afraid of what happened in 2008, 2009 happening again. Of course, that's a real fear, but it's really interesting when you start to break it down, how many differences there are in the main things that cause that housing recession is not what we're seeing right now. A lot of those practices are not allowed anymore. So, and just overall, when you look at the credit ratings and the amount of money that people have when they're buying homes today, it's way, way different than what was happening back then.
For sure. How have your appraisals come in recently?
My appraisals have come in at value. Yeah, they've been good.
Mine too. Yeah, no issues on my end.
Which is always interesting because you never know. Like when home prices were shooting up, we are always worried that the appraisals weren't going to come in at value because they're going off of comparable properties that sold 1 or 2 months ago.
Sure.
And in 1 or 2 months, you're talking about, maybe a 3, 4, 5% difference in home value. So you're hoping that the appraiser calculates for the change in home price based on a home that sold a couple of months ago. And then right now, you're hoping that the appraiser doesn't overvalue that adjustment.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fine line we walk here.
Growing Up Gaming, what is going on? It's always good to see you in here, my friends.
Biggest fans.
Yeah, we can give you some of this.
Yes.
Appreciate you being in here today. No one wants to buy or sell in this market. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're experiencing. A lot of people don't want to buy or sell. We're still working with plenty of people that want to buy or sell. They're just, some people are waiting for the right moment. Some people straight up can't afford buying right now. And then some people are just so terrified of what the future could hold that they're not willing to make a decision. And that all those reasons are completely understandable in my book.
Yeah, I had a client recently. He wanted to buy a place and he could afford up to like a decent chunk, maybe I think 800,000. He's like, okay, but I want my payment to be around here. I'm like, okay, well, your purchase price would have to be around like 550 to get around that number. And he's like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much difference it was. I mean, if this was 6 months ago when rates were 3%, you could have been at like 750. But that jump in interest rate really, really changes your payment.
Yeah, but you can see there are plenty of people out there right now that are buying and selling. We have a couple of people in our escrow right now and under contract that are buying and selling homes.
For sure.
Everyone's situation is different. That's a reality. But when this is happening in the market, it's just funneling down to the people that are, I don't want to say most desperate, but the most motivated. Yep. And when things start to open up and affordability goes up or interest rates start to go down, then it's just going to widen the gap of the amount of people that are willing to, buy or sell a home in this market.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think these next 6 months, I think will be very interesting to see what people do. Do they buy? Do they sell? Do they just wait? I think people that do buy in the next 6 months will actually be in pretty good shape in the long run. But that's just my guess. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm actively looking to buy right now, and I'm willing to take that risk because I'm that confident in the market, staying healthy enough. It's very rare that I actually put a number on what I expect to happen in the market. And in our last live, I basically said what I really believe is going to happen is that where we're at in September of 2022 is going to be exactly where we're at in September of 2023 as far as median home value, if not a little bit above that. So I think that it's very possible prices are going to continue to come down a little bit right now, but ultimately they're going to flatten out, start to go back up, and homes are going to start to gain value once again.
I think they'll start to flatten once the Fed stops raising the rates.
Yeah,
because people want to know when that bottom or top, whatever you want to talk about it, because when the rates just start to flatten and then retract. It could be like 6 months, could be a year before they finally retract, but they're not going to always be 6 to 7% interest rates. I firmly believe that will not be a long-term problem because it'll hurt the there's a lot of reasons why, but it just for the way price, especially the way the prices are out here, it almost has to come down for it to become a more stabilized normal market. We might not see 3%, which is okay. I mean, I don't think 3% was really healthy for the entire market in general, but like 4, I could see things settling in around between 4.5% in the long run, but we'll see.
I could see 3% again. I think we will get back there. I don't know if it'll stay there, but I think we'll see it again.
Yeah. We'll see.
Gas prices and groceries. Yeah. I mean, Bern, have you seen $7 gas? Because I've seen it by me recently.
I
It's
don't know. I got
crazy how
electric
fast it
car. I
shot up.
don't. I don't. I only stop to get a slushie at the gas station.
That's
So
true.
you
Yeah, yeah. My car is only half electric these days. Have you noticed a decrease in foreign investors due to a strong dollar?
I
You
just
know,
think I've seen a decrease in everything, like
yeah,
foreign investors, just normal first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers. I think everything is just decreased. It's not just one or the other. I don't think.
yeah. I haven't noticed anything that really stands out. But to be honest, like I don't work with, say, foreign investors. I work with
Yeah.
people that are moving to San Diego. But even on the homes that I'm selling, like it's not something that I've run into as much as a lot of people think. Like
Yeah.
I'm not selling to a lot of foreign investors. I'm not selling to, BlackRock or anything like that. At least not that I
Sure.
know of.
Yeah. As far as I could tell, none of these people are BlackRock. So
Yeah. All right. Filling up my water went from 250 from 150 to 250. Everything is so expensive. A lot of people moved here, aren't used to that, and they're feeling it add up. I think that's absolutely true. I mean, kind of on a related topic, Bern, you have an investment property, a short-term rental, an Airbnb.
sure.
How is that working for you right now? We have one, and we know that the market out there is just really slow right now.
Yeah, as far as like renters, or just as
Yeah.
far as how's the market's going in those things.
Yeah. As far as like it booking up and things like that, are you noticing the same thing?
My busy season's the winter season. So usually in the summer, I usually get a handful. I feel like this summer was slower than last summer. Last 2 summers were super busy because
Mhm.
everyone was stuck at home. People weren't flying, so people were driving. The house is up in Big Bear Lake, if you know where that is. And this summer's probably been one of the slowest I've had in recent memories. But the last two before this were the busiest I've ever seen it. So I think it's just kind of adjusting back to normal. I think winter will still be busy. People will still want to go to the snow. I just think summer is, I usually get like 5 rentals a summer. And this year I
Oh
think
wow.
I had 3.
Oh
So,
wow. Okay.
yeah, it's not a lot. I also don't price it really low because I don't want it to get beat up in the summertime and that
Yeah.
sort of thing too. So, because it takes a beating in the wintertime with all the, snow, people's boots and all that sort of thing too. So.
Well, I think there's just in general, housing market aside, I think people are really tightening their purses right now, and they just don't want to spend as much money. And, especially going somewhere that's a driving type of vacation, gas is so expensive. And when people are thinking about all these things right now.
Yeah, one other thing I want to say about the investment or vacation towns, second hometowns, I think those will get hit harder than like a San
Sure.
Diego. I think like at least for examples around us, like Palm Springs, Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear Lake, you'll probably see bigger price drops there, just because the first thing to go in a recession are usually second homes or vacation homes. Like if people really have to like tighten up the purse strings, I'd say those are usually ones that get hit the most. And I've noticed up in Big Bear, prices have come down quite a bit up there as far as pricing goes. So
Yeah, and part of that is because at the beginning of this year, they changed the rules for purchasing an Airbnb. You used to be able to have a second property that you could get pretty much the same rate as your primary residence, and you could use it as an Airbnb. Now they changed it, so the qualifications are a little bit tougher, and the rate is like another percent or 1.5% higher, which is significant.
yeah, what was the rate on your second home? What would you get?
Well, we got it we closed, I don't know, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that took place.
Oh,
So
really?
we got
Nice.
a really good rate.
Yeah, because we got 3.5 on our big, but this was like 2012 we bought it, so it's been a while.
Sura is very active today. She is curious. What made you do adjustable isn't fixed better? So at the end of the day, everyone's situation is going to be different. The reason why I am considering an adjustable rate mortgage is because you can have a rate that instead of, let's just say, a 30-year conventional loan is going to be at 6.5%. You can get an adjustable rate mortgage that is at 5 or 5.5%, or even less for the first 7 to 10 years, which is going to save you potentially hundreds of dollars a month, depending on how expensive the home is.
For
So in
sure.
the course of the 7 to 10 years, that's a substantial savings. It's still going to be fixed rate during that time. It's just going to be less than, or potentially less than what it's going to be after that period of time. And in my mind, during that period, I'm very likely going to refinance and then get a fixed rate mortgage when rates come down again. So that's basically, I'm betting on prices to come down so I can refinance and get a fixed rate mortgage for 30 years. And then that would save me potentially thousands of dollars. I mean, definitely thousands of dollars if I refinance in 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
You can also do a 30-year fixed rate right now at 6%, and then refinance to another 30-year. But you're really not really. I mean, you are saving money doing it that way too. You would just save more money with the ARM versus the 30-year rate. But a lot of people get scared off by ARM. So
and there's all sorts of tools out there. There's a 2-1 buy down is really, really popular right now, which basically means instead of paying for the rate to be lowered over the complete term of the loan, the 30 years, you're paying for those first 2 years for the rate to go down a little bit. So you're paying for the first year to go down by 2% and the second year to go down by 1%. That's going to cost, $10,000, $20,000, something like that to do that. But it's going to ease you into buying that house. And there are certain situations where you can have the seller pay. You can negotiate these types of things in this market. You can have the seller pay for a 2-1 buy down. So the first 2 years, it eases you into your mortgage. And then hopefully not too far down the line, you have an opportunity to refinance.
Yeah. And honestly, sellers are definitely much more open to it than they would have been 6 months ago. That's for sure. People are getting much more creative and trying to make their homes more attractive. So
yeah. Lyndon, definitely notice the prices come down from the peak in May. The question is how much more down the next couple of rate increases? Absolutely. And at what point is it going to stabilize? We're at around 6.5% for interest rates right now. And, I think it's very likely we could get into the 7s. I really hope it doesn't go much more than that. But I think we're at a point right now where people already have it in their minds. That's where we're at. We're at 7%. So I think for it to have a substantial change in what's happening right now, it's going to have to go even higher. But I just don't know that we're going to see that. But who the heck knows? No one would have thought in their wildest dreams that we'd be at 7% or close to 7%.
I really thought inflation was going to be under control by this time, and it just still has not happened yet. So.
And again, Lyndon, just looking at what's going on right now, yes, prices are coming down. Yes, demand is down. But inventory and homes for sale is so freaking low once again, and that's the underlying issue. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
If somehow supply just like skyrocketed, then you'd see prices dip even more. But we're seeing more houses getting taken off the market than being put on. So,
yep, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So Edwin says typically when the Fed lowers rates, once a recession is already underway. Yes, that's right. So this is a tactic that they can use to help the economy.
That's why they will reduce them eventually. But
exactly,
they're really trying to get inflation under control first, and then they'll drop the rates. Is what we've talked about. So
exactly. So Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, is basically saying that they are dead set on getting those inflation numbers down, basically, even if it wrecks the economy right now. But once they get those inflation numbers down, and since they are being so aggressive with these hikes, hopefully they'll have it under control soon. And then they have the opportunity from there to help the economy by lowering rates. So yeah,
he's basically trying to make it hurt for the short term to make better for the long term, essentially. Yeah. Which, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's probably not a bad plan, unfortunately.
All right. Sura is enjoying the stream. Used to a gaming streamer on Twitch before going to law. This is top-notch quality. Appreciate that. Oh, I need to get my buttons a little bit better over here.
There you go.
Applause. There we go.
Can we play some Minecraft after this?
I think this is maybe my favorite one. I need to find a good time to use this.
Come on, man.
Well, Joe Biden.
What was it? I can't even hear it.
You hear?
Come on, man.
Oh, there it is. Got it.
All right. Who else we got on here? We got a lot of questions coming in. Whatever questions you guys have about the market, we are happy to help. Will wants to know, do you have statistics on what San Diego hiring plan is? I remember you talking about Apple, Amazon, etc. Statistics on what the San Diego hiring plan is. Apple wants to have over 5,000 employees in San Diego by 2026. Beyond that, I don't have specific numbers on the hiring in San Diego, but it definitely is worth noting, the reason why San Diego can be so different than the rest of the economy and the rest of the housing market in the US is because we are such a desirable place, because there are a lot of tech jobs that are coming here, a lot of high-paying tech jobs. and because a lot of people can work remote and they have the money to do so, and they're coming from areas that are even more expensive than San Diego. So
I feel like
it
we
has an effect on what's going on here.
I think between me and Dan, we single-handedly made San Diego more attractive. I feel like. Would you agree?
That's true. These YouTube channels are working out.
Said no one ever, but it's fine.
No, but we do have people that, they'll call us because they find us on YouTube, and we'll pick up and be like, "Oh my gosh, you actually picked up. You're famous."
Yeah.
No, we're absolutely not famous. We have
I actually just had a couple stop me at Starbucks the other day. It's like, "Oh my god!" They're like, "Burn." I go, "I don't know you." And they're like, "Oh, we just moved here from Connecticut," and then it was just a funny story. So,
well, with all that said, we have 40 people tuning in live. That are having a great conversation in the chat. We really appreciate all of you. We're micro famous to a small group of people. So thank you guys for tuning in. We put a lot of hours, a lot of times into our channels, and it's all because you guys.
Yeah, we just enjoy doing these things, making videos and showing off this beautiful city. So, I mean, San Diego makes it very easy to show off. So it's like San Diego does most of the work. We just kind of film it. So
that's right. Lyndon is saying there's no option of getting an ARM for investment property. I don't know that 100% for sure, but that would make sense.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I mean, there probably are certain like private investor banks that will do it, but like a Wells Fargo or one of those things won't do it.
Look, there are thousands of different types of loan programs out there. And even if an adjustable rate mortgage is not an option for investment property, you should still be able to get something like a 2-1 buy down, like we had discussed a little while ago. And hopefully, if it's an investment opportunity and you're getting more from the sellers, you can have them pay for something like that.
Can you do 2-1 buy downs for investment properties?
I don't see why not. I mean, again, like we're not the lenders. We can ask that when Derek comes back on.
I know we should have a lender always on the show so we can answer these questions.
Yeah. If you guys want us to always have a lender on the show so that we can answer these questions in more detail, let us know in the comments. Will saying, I bought my first condo in 2001 in Boston at 7%. See, and rates came down since then. How many times did you refinance? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, they've come down a lot. I mean, well, now they're close to that now, but
yeah. But they only have to come down once for you to refinance, and that's the
7.5 for investment. That sounds about right.
Already at 7.5%.
Is that what you're getting right now, Lyndon? The 7.5 on your investment one that you're buying down south there?
Yeah, is it in San Diego?
In San Diego, yeah.
Cool. All right. Can both of you give your best prediction on how high rates will be and when will rates be in the threes? Sunshine Yogini, good to see you.
Yeah, I remember Sunshine. Yeah.
I can tell you this. If you asked me at the very beginning of the year where rates would be right now, I would say, we might hit 4%.
That's exactly what we said.
This is absolutely the worst prediction that we've ever had, the two of us, but also I would say the industry and all the experts and everything. Nobody thought we'd be where we are right now. That being said, I'll still make a prediction. Actually, Bern, why don't you start us off? Where do you think?
Wait, so
I got a number in mind.
Beth, prediction for how high the rates will be. So are we saying rates are about 6% right now? Is that what we're kind of saying?
Let's say there's 6.5 right now.
6.5. Will they hit 7? I say yes.
I think
it's not going to hit 8. It's going to be 7, 7.25, and then I think that's when we'll finally see inflation under control. This is just my educated guess.
Mm-hmm.
And will rates get down to the 3s again? I mean, not impossible. I don't think 3s we'll see for a while, unless the recession's like really bad. I think we'll get back into the 4s. End of 2023.
Yeah. I'm not too far off. I would say I think it's very likely we could get into the low 7s, maybe to the mid 7s.
I mean, we're pretty close to it now, so.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to last for very long. I think it'll slowly start to come down from there. And like Bern said, I think by the end of next year, I would love to see us between 4.5, maybe up to 5.5%, somewhere in there.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that the market's generally slower in, I don't know if this is any rationale at all. This is just guess. Housing market from October through December is relatively slow. So if they're going to keep rates high, I don't know if it just makes any sense that they're doing it now just because it is generally slower. This is just me keeping myself up at night trying to figure out what they're doing. But
Yeah.
and then maybe in February, March, April, when the next selling season starts, maybe they'll be in the fives instead of 6.5. I don't know. We'll see. If we knew exactly what was going to happen, we probably wouldn't be having a YouTube channel.
We wouldn't be doing the show, you guys. We would just be billionaire investors out there.
I would just be on the beach in Hawaii and just enjoying life.
So I can say this, one of the big factors for inflation is going to be energy costs, and a big part of that is gas prices. And because that's going crazy right now, that's not helping anything.
Well, they were going down for a minute, and now they went back up again. So
I don't know all the politics involved with gas prices, but what I can say is I think it's very, very likely that come election time, gas prices will magically be low again. I don't know how that works.
I can't imagine how that would happen during an election period.
So, when the election time comes, the current president is going to want to look good on paper. He wants the economy to look good. So I just don't see rates continuing to go up like crazy like this. And once the prediction is that the Fed fund rate is going to start to decline over a period of time, then you're going to see mortgage rates start to come down, I think, pretty quick at that point.
Which is when, Dan? Tell me when.
It's going to be February 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Okay, write that down, guys. We're going to do another live on that day and see what happens.
I've already had a couple of people threaten me with a montage of how wrong I'm going to be about the market. So whenever that day comes, here's the thing. I will gladly tell you all that I'm wrong if that ever happens, just like I did about the interest rates. And I would love to see that montage. So if anyone ever wants to make a montage of stupid stuff I've said over the hours and hours and hours that we've been on YouTube, I'm sure there's some stupid stuff in there. I'd love to see it. Ryan says, we could not afford daycare. $2,000 per month for 3 kids. Is that normal? This is a tough one, man.
I've only had one in at a time in daycare, and mine was around $1,100 per month. But if I had 3 kids in there, I don't know. I think you get a discount if you have more kids in it. I'm not positive. I forget what it was, but that's how much mine was. So, if it was $2,000 for 3 kids, that would only be, just under $700 a kid, which doesn't sound terrible, but obviously it's a lot of money. And it depends where you're coming from. Like, I'm not sure if you get it cheaper than, is it like $500 in other parts of the country? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say from my understanding, that sounds about right. Sounds about that number is not surprising to me. I wouldn't be surprised if it were even closer to $2,500 a month or something like that.
And that's also, you have to like run the numbers. Like, so what if one of your parents has to stay home with the kids? How much is that second spouse making? Because $2,000 a month times 12 months, you're at 24,000. So if they're only making, I don't know, $50,000 or $70,000 at that second job, is it worth working when you have to half of your paycheck goes to daycare? So yeah, it's San Diego's not cheap, that's for sure.
Doug Brewer, the real estate agent extraordinaire and one of the best CrossFitters I know, thinks that we are famous. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate that, man. All right, Grown Up Gaming says, coursing my fingers, which I think maybe is crossing my fingers. Hoping Airbnb short-term rentals laws will impact the market. Do you think upwards of a few hundred homes might be put on the market in 2023 due to that law? So I think I'm trying to remember if I already released this video. Yeah, I think the last video I just released. So the city, basically, the city said a couple of months ago, look, we're going to put these new rules into place for short-term rentals for the city of San Diego. Now, keep in mind, that's about half of the population of the county. So you have about 1.5 million people in the city. And they basically said, look, we're going to change the rules so that the short-term rental properties can only be a maximum of 1% of the current number of homes in the city of San Diego, with the exception of Mission Beach, which can be up to 30%.
30%.
And if you've ever been to San Diego, Mission Beach is the touristy place in San Diego. You don't ever want to have to drive a car through there or have to park to go to someone's place in the middle of summer, because it's just multi-unit properties that are rented for short-term rentals. Is that your experience there, Bern?
Yep. You know my stance on parking, so don't get me started on it. So
yeah, you better take a Uber or something if you're going up there. I remember I have some video footage of me showing homes over there, and I'm riding those little scooters around from going.
It'd be easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was absolutely easier. So the city said that these rules were going to come into place, and then then when we start looking at it, we're like, all right, is this going to get pushed back? Like, is this actually going to happen? What is the enforcement going to look like? Like, historically, there's not really any enforcement, and the city doesn't even have really that much knowledge of figuring out if there are properties out there that are not licensed for short-term rental. And the one thing I forgot to mention is these new rules would basically cut the number of Airbnbs and short-term rentals in half in the city of San Diego. So we're talking about, I forget the numbers off the top of my head. Was it a couple thousand?
4,000? Yeah, I did a video on this too. I can't remember the exact numbers. 4,000
properties. And there are some nuances or different tiers, but essentially if you are renting out your entire property, then you have to qualify for this. So the city of San Diego a couple of weeks ago said, finally, all right, we are putting these rules into place starting on this date. You have to apply in November.
What is the date? When do they starting it?
So you have to apply in November of this year.
Okay.
They're going to give essentially more points to properties that have been a short-term rental for a longer period of time without any violations. So if you just bought a short-term rental this last year, you're gonna have a harder time getting approved than someone that's been doing it for years. However, it's still a lottery, so you have a better chance of getting to keep your short-term.
You get like more ping pong balls in there if you have
exactly. Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be great if it was like a lottery? They got the ping pong
NBA
ball.
draft lottery is like how they do this.
I love that. Yeah, that should absolutely be what they do. So so you have to apply in November, and then I believe it's June of next year is when they go into effect. So then the question is, all right, let's say there's 4,000 homes that can no longer be short-term rentals. Either A, they're going to try and give it a shot with short-term rentals and say, screw you, City of San Diego. I'll wait until you slap my wrist and see what happens. B, they keep the property and rent it out long-term, or they sell the property, or they move into the property, move into one of the rooms or one of the units, and then rent out the rest, in which case they actually would qualify to be able to rent that out. So how many of each is going to happen? Who knows? I think it's very, very likely that at least 1,000 homes will hit the market, but I don't know like over what period of time that is. I don't know.
I think they'll be spread out too. I don't think it's going to make a different, like a dent in our supply issue. I mean, I think like 1,000 homes over a course of a year, not because not everyone's going to sell at the same time. I think some people will try to hang on to it and try to do month rentals instead of weekend rentals. As I know, I have a client doing the same thing. So if he doesn't get the license, he's like, because he has the one in La Jolla, and if you can rent out in La Jolla for a month pretty easily, actually, almost any time of year. So I think a lot of people will turn that direction, and I know there's like little loopholes. People's like, okay, I'm going to say I'm going to rent to you for 30 days on paper, but you got to be out in 2 weeks. So
sure, yeah, I think it will have an effect. I don't think at any point we're going to be able to pinpoint and say that's when the Airbnb rules had an effect on our market.
I know it's going to be. I think it's going to be too spread out to even realize what happened, sort of thing.
Yep,
but we'll see.
All right. You both are the guys to go to if I want to know anything about the housing market in San Diego. You guys rock. No, Lyndon. You rock,
Lyndon.
I know. Let's see. Oh, man, I need to work on this, guys. I need to work on this.
Your soundboard is failing us.
I know. I got too much like scrolling around. I need to just like be able to hit some buttons without looking and just make some cool noise.
Big Bear does have a short-term. They're trying to put a short-term rental law in place right now. So they had a vote on there. I'm not sure what happened. They're trying to limit the amounts of rentals, and they're super strict up there on short-term rentals. They kept adding rules like you can't make any noise after 10 o'clock anywhere. Like if you hear anything in the street, your neighbors can report you. I got a $500 fine up in Big Bear for it. I was like, I heard you get up to like a $5,000 fine for certain things.
Keeps happening.
And they hired like new inspectors up there. I think they almost like outsource the inspectors now, so they look for people to. That's how they make their money. So I forget how much they were trying to limit it to, but it was going to almost do something very similar to San Diego, like cut it in half or take a quarter of them out of there. So I still have my license, but
I think it's really smart if you are looking to invest in an Airbnb property is go somewhere that already has the strict rules in place that you can actually fit into.
Yeah.
So, because when we closed on our property out in, is right next to Joshua Tree, but we just call it Joshua Tree, is new rules went into place, I think, a week after we closed. So luckily, we had a very good idea of what those rules were going to look like. We knew that there was going to be more opportunities available and that they hadn't hit their cap yet. So we felt pretty good about that. But looking back,
they are limiting them, but you have not hit the cap of how many there are limited.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's rare these days.
Yep. But I mean, it's one of those places where it's a vacation place. There's a lot of people, just like, Mission Beach here in San Diego. It's an area that people go travel to, and tourism is what's running their economy out there.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, Star Platinum. What is going on, Star
Hey,
Platinum?
everybody, Star Platinum.
How about getting an insurance agent on? They are running for the hills in Orlando due to the hurricane.
Well, they run for the hills here because of fire. So, everyone has their own thing. So
that would be a good person to get on, because there have been a lot of changes because of fires. And I'm sure, whenever there's a major event like this, it's going to affect everything. So
do you have an insurance agent you really like? We should get one that would be good for this. We should get one on.
I have two that I really like. Yeah. Well, we can definitely get one on. One happens to be my brother-in-law. So,
okay.
But he's great.
So we'll get the other guy then. It's fine.
Will is still hanging out. I guess, he's away from family and he's stuck back home. So he's on here hanging out with us today, putting in some good questions. So great question. I think I got down to 4.35 after 2 drops. So he said a little while ago, he had a comment saying that I think in 2001 in Boston, he had a mortgage rate of 7%. And my question to him was, how many times did he refinance that? And so he said it got down to 4.35 after 2 drops. And then he bought his home in Savannah in 2007 at 3.
So do you live in Savannah right now, William?
He moved from Savannah to San Diego. So I helped him buy home down in Chula Vista not too long ago.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but look at this, guys. There's no guarantee on what's going to happen. And again, figure out the worst case scenario when you're buying a house. But when you're looking at the market right now and knowing that there are potential opportunities out there, and we haven't even gotten into new construction, which I definitely want to talk about with you before we get off today, is like Will had here. He was at 7%. He refinanced twice in the 6 years that he lived in that house, and both times saved him a significant amount of money. So plan for the worst, but this is a very likely scenario that we see happening here in the next couple of years.
Sure, yeah.
Lyndon said, and I believe he was talking about the investment property. So he paid 2% in points to bring it down to 6.75%.
Jeez. Oof.
Sunshine Yogini. That's just a fun thing to say. I really like that.
I love that name.
Which city would you would appreciate more for condos or townhomes? Oceanside versus Chula Vista? Well, Sunshine, you are going to like the video I have releasing on Friday this week. It's all about the 3 top places in San Diego to invest for a condo or townhome. So that's great. I feel like I should pay you money for just asking that question.
That's a good plug. Did you tell Sunshine ever say that on there just so you could plug that video?
I should. Oceanside. I mean, I think Oceanside is one of the best opportunities in San Diego.
I think for beach communities, it's like comparing a beach community versus a non-beach community. I always go beach community.
Yeah.
And Oceanside, I just feel like it's probably one of the more underrated towns in all of, especially North County, San Diego, all of San Diego, really. It's just the only negative about Oceanside really is it's just it's the north end of North County, basically. Next is Camp Pendleton after that. So, and that's not, they even have like a train that goes from Oceanside all the way down to downtown. So it's just, even you don't have to deal with the traffic someday. You could just jump on a train. So I just feel like it's, especially for younger people, I feel like everyone should check out Oceanside. The other negative, not negative, but not as good as some of the other ones, it doesn't have like the highest ranked schools in Oceanside sometimes, although there are some pockets that are pretty good. But other than that, Oceanside, I love their little downtown. They've done a lot of work to that downtown.
So nice.
Yeah.
I love it. There's some great restaurants. It has a ton of walkability. There's some great beaches up there. Like it's awesome. I really, really like it a lot. Okay. So one thing I did want to mention before we got off today is new construction homes. And I think this is potentially one of the bigger opportunities in this market when it's changing so rapidly is new construction homes, because, and I'm going to pitch I have another video coming out, I think in 2 weeks, that I just filmed about new construction homes in San Diego and the opportunities that you can get. One of the reasons that we know the market is changing is because all of a sudden over the last couple of months, we have Some of the major developers here in San Diego are reaching out to Bern and myself and other agents in San Diego and saying, look, we're so sorry we didn't offer any opportunity for you to work with clients here. But over the last 2 years, but right now, we're willing. We have another buyer broker commission that we're able to offer you, and we'd love for you to bring your buyers in. Bern, why are they doing that?
I wonder, maybe they're not selling as quick as they used to, perhaps.
Yep.
I know one builder in particular did not pay on any of the some of them did throughout the during the last 2 years, but one builder, which is the biggest builder in San Diego, would you say?
Lennar did not with Schmamar.
It does rhyme with Shmar. They didn't pay, but now the one closest to my house, what's called Arlo Merge 56, they are offering commissions to agents again, which just goes to show you that like the market has shifted and the builders are feeling it too. So they're going to be offering more incentives. They're going to give you like bigger builder credit. I remember back in 2016, like there was KB Homes over by my house. They were offering like $20,000 in designer upgrades. Like a year ago or 6 months ago, even they like, nope, you can take it or leave it, and we're gonna do a bidding process, and it's gonna go $50,000 over what that was.
Yep.
So it's definitely the home builders. If you're looking for a deal, new construction, you'll probably find some good stuff coming up in the near future here.
So I can say this: it totally depends, I guess, a little bit on the builder, but a lot of it depends on where they're located in San Diego.
Sure.
For the foreseeable future, guys, I'm sorry, you're not getting deals on 3 routes. So I have a client that was just over there with California West the other day, and they are still not working with real estate agents. So a lot of the other builders over there are, but they're still 6 months, a year out, whatever it is. They still have waiting lists. Now I can share this with you guys. I have some clients that are under contract right now today for new construction out in Santee, some beautiful 3-story townhomes. These model matches were selling, they got up to $800,000. Now they're selling for $750,000. And then they had some units that were fully built out. So it's like fire sale. Let's get these sold. They bought it for under $700,000. They got, there was an added bonus for a real estate agent commission. And then there was also up to 6% in closing cost credits if you use our lender. 6%.
6%.
We're talking about HOA fees.
What home builder was that?
Was it Taylor Morris?
Taylor Morrison. Okay, yeah.
And so, yeah, they're definitely, and I can tell you guys, that was the best opportunity I've seen for anyone all year long. And it was great to see. You know, they basically had 2 units that were fully built out. And the very first weekend that they were fully built out, they put fire sales on both of those, and they got it at this just fantastic deal.
That's great. Yeah, I haven't seen a deal like that yet, but I just showed new construction up in Oceanside. Have you been to Melrose Heights, I think it's called?
No.
Trumark Homes. They're like townhome. They have some single family homes.
Yes.
Trumark, yeah. Those were actually pretty nice, and my client actually really liked them. So we'll see what happens with that. And they're reasonably priced. I mean, you can get like a 3-bedroom and a loft townhome for $675,000.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean, it's not cheap, but I mean, compared to what else the ones I've seen, sound like a deal to me. So,
well, they're really nice, and in an area that I think has some of the best potential for appreciation in San Diego.
Yeah, and just the community they built there. It was just, you know, sometimes I go in these communities, they're like, okay, they just built townhomes, nothing else. This one had like a nice little pool area in the middle, so they almost had like a central meeting spot, and then a park in the other one. So it was just a very well. I mean, we see a lot of neighborhoods in San Diego here, so just nice when you see one that was actually looked like they put some thought and effort into it. So
yeah, absolutely. M.A. Gracing says, did San Diego ever implement a house flipping law? I remember them talking about a hold period before selling again. No, they have not. And I can show you, just so happen to have this great graph right here, which shows you guys. And this is one of the craziest graphs when you look at them. So San Diego County distress listings. So these are properties that need work, homes that are on the market that need a lot of work. And if you look since 2012, we had, almost 2,000. Now, to be fair, we also had more homes on the market, but we had a massive increase in the amount of distressed properties. Whereas you look at today, I mean, it's almost zero. So what this shows is people, for one, people are buying off-market properties and then they're flipping the house and they're making it a massive profit. But also there are flipping companies that essentially work before you sell the house. So you can work with a company to put in a lot of work on your home and you're basically guaranteeing them that you're going to sell the house, and then you'll
Sure.
sell them. You'll pay them out of the proceeds. So that's just, it's interesting because that's where this market has gone. The sellers have really, really learned how much fixing up a home can impact the bottom line and how much money that you're going to get out of it.
For sure.
And so it makes it tougher for the average Joe to find a home that needs some work that they can fix up. Now, there definitely are homes that need work, but this is why you see a lot of flipped properties here in San Diego, and because they haven't put any rules in place like that.
Maybe one day, but not yet.
Maybe one day. All right. Derek says Redfin has a bunch of single family properties listed for rent. Is this a new feature, or
they just started adding rentals to their website? I saw that.
There we go. They just started adding rentals there because Zillow is the main one that people go to, I think, right?
Yeah, they're probably just trying to compete with Zillow. So. I don't know where they're getting the rentals. Are they getting from the MLS? Or are they people actually posting them? I don't really know.
I don't know. I would guess that you have to enter it in directly. I don't think that's just coming from the MLS.
Yep.
Sunshine Yogini is back. It says, what is the median cost of a single family residence now in San Diego County? How much should it come down from the high? That's a good question. I should have that up right now. Do you know that off the top of your head, Bern?
What's the median cost of single family now in San Diego County? How much did it come down from the high? I can check it real quick.
Tell me your thoughts. Tell us what you think.
Say again?
Tell us what you think while I'm pulling this up right now.
Okay. I think what was the piece? So I always get the county and the city. So county, it's higher than the city, right?
So this is split off into detached properties and attached properties. So single family residence is going to be a detached property. So right now here's the thing. Like we were saying before, we're still up for the last 12 months. We're up 7.1% from 830 last year to 889. Now we had gone over 900,000. I don't remember exactly where it was at, but we definitely have come down a little bit from there.
This is for, So detached homes, median home price. This is monthly. I like to do a 3 month rolling average because it's different. So 925 in September with a 3 month rolling average. And the peak was June 989. 989 down to 925.
Yeah.
That's detached San Diego County.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say people overpay for properties because that's the going rate. But we definitely got to this point where buyers just felt so desperate in this market to get an offer accepted that they were paying a lot more than they would have paid in any other situation. So like when it peaked, it really peaked. And there's no question, like it makes sense that prices came down kind of so rapidly too, because they were almost artificially inflated just because of the way that the market was.
I mean, I felt the market like flattening a little bit in the second half of 2021. And then once they announced rates were going to go up, that's when the second surge came. Because I think if rates would have they're like, okay, maybe we'll raise rates a little bit. Then they just like, okay, we're going to really raise the rates. And everyone like jumped. I remember, like I've talked about this a million times. January, February were the craziest months of my life in real estate. Because people were just like, trying to cut people's heads off trying to get a house in that market. It was just insane. So I'm happy to see that market go, but I would like to go back to, somewhat normalness going forward. We'll see.
It's always easy to pick out the challenges in the current market. But yeah, like Bern said, January, February, March was tough. I mean, like I could not imagine having to go through a market like that again. It was so tough to get buyers' offers accepted. And Bern, we're really good at getting offers accepted. And it was
we got pretty good at it. And now it's like, I mean, a whole different. But now it's like they're begging us to like give us an offer and we'll take it.
Yeah. Joe said, thank you both for sharing.
But something in between.
Joe said, thank you both for sharing what you do well. Your insights are appreciated. No, Joe, thank you. Appreciate that. Some Facebook user says, what up, fellas? SD in the house. They're all paying again. It's talking about developers, new construction.
They're dropping out here in Wisconsin too.
Yeah. Joe says he thinks prices will continue to drop. They're dropping out here in Wisconsin too.
I think they'll probably continue to drop until they stop raising the rates, and then you see that it turn the corner. I think people are just waiting for it to turn the corner.
Yeah.
That's what they're waiting for.
I mean, there is opportunity out there. You have to keep your eyes open for it.
I'm definitely keeping my eyes open because I think when everyone's not buying, it sometimes becomes a good time to do it. because I'm just waiting for that right one to pop up. So maybe we're going to be a little bit more patient in it. But when I see one that like really just makes sense, I'm going to jump on it.
Yep. I would imagine I really don't see prices coming down for more than 6 months. I'd be very surprised if 6 months from now.
That's because I don't think rates are going to go up for 6 months either. They'll probably start.
That's the other aspect of it.
So
Noe says, yes, waiting for prices to come down over the next year and hoping to jump on house either in Normal Heights, University Heights, Kensington, North Park, or
all good spots. Love all those neighborhoods.
Walkable neighborhoods. Yeah, those are some great communities. Star Platinum says, my neighbor dropped price of a house from $690 to $660, been on the market for about 4 months now. Star, do you think at $690, I guess 4 months, that was a tough time to list a property. Do you think at $690 it was overpriced, or do you think that it's
yeah, because I mean, just seeing a price drop does not mean maybe it was overpriced from the beginning too. So you never know.
I mean, obviously it was overpriced because a house will sell at a certain price. Every single house.
Yeah, in this market, it'll sell if you price it correctly or close to it. It will sell no matter what market you're in. So
this reminds me of the chart that we showed for the amount of homes, the amount of listings that were taken off the market. And this is probably one of those listings where they're just not really that motivated. They're happy to wait it out, and maybe they'll end up taking it off the market just because they aren't willing to accept lowball bids. I mean,
and then there are some sellers out there that will panic and just reduce until it gets sold. So I saw one person reduce after like 5 days. I'm just like, what? Just give it a couple days before you reduce. I mean, maybe they had to sell it. Maybe they had to get an offer because they were buying something else. So there's always a reason usually, but I thought that was a little crazy. So
yeah, that's it. Every situation different again, but that seems pretty dramatic. We have a builder in Georgia who doubled. Who do you think this is, Bern? An agent out in Georgia who doubled their agent commissions because they can't get anything sold.
Misha Thompson, perhaps.
Yeah, I think this is Misha Thompson. Are those autographed basketballs behind Bern? What do you got?
I have a Charles Barkley back there. And then I have a Larry Bird / Magic Johnson basketball.
Oh, that's cool. That was a good question. I like that.
Good eye. I have a Mike Shea autographed baseball right there. Oh, somewhere. I can't do this one on the screen there.
And Star, if you would like a basketball signed by Bern himself, just let us know.
It would actually decrease the value of the basketball. So yes, I will send you a basketball if you want one, Star.
This basketball has Shaquille O'Neal and Bern McGovern's signatures.
If you've seen me play basketball recently, you will understand why.
Sunshine says, you guys are two of my favorite realtors. So down to earth. I'm stuck in Laguna Beach with a single family residence at 2.25%. I want to move to maybe Oceanside. Advice on overcoming fear of selling and facing not good inventory. I think the biggest thing to think of here is if you were to sell your home last year when rates were lower at the beginning of this year, you had a really tough time buying a house. I mean, to think of selling and buying at the same time was damn near impossible. We made it happen with some people, but it was never fun. It was never easy. And especially if you're putting an offer contingent on selling your house and the seller has 18 other offers, why the heck are they going to choose your offer? So now is the market where you can get that opportunity. Now is the market where home prices are starting to drop. The biggest negative is the interest rates. But again, I mean, myself and Bern, we're both willing to bet that rates are going to continue to come down, or they're going to start coming down, and they're going to come down.
As long as you can afford the payment you're paying with the high rates. Because if you can't and you're stretching yourself, then don't do it. But yeah, I would rather. I might get yelled at for this, but I'd rather buy in this market than the market 6 months ago.
Yeah. Everyone would rather buy in this market if they were going through the process of buying, which is what we have an intimate exposure to with our jobs, obviously. But
Sunshine, can you keep your house Can you keep your house in Laguna and still buy in Oceanside? Just curious.
Yeah, I guess.
Can you rent your house out in basically Laguna unless you need it to buy? So just curious.
Also, how did you get down to 2.25%? That's what I want to know.
That's really, really good. That was probably I've heard one other person get it that low on a 30-year, but that was it.
That's pretty wild. Joe, I had a great donut today. Thought of you.
Where, Joe? Tell me. Someone just told me about a new donut shop in was it Scripps Ranch or something? One I had not tried before. I forget where it was.
I can't believe we had people on here making fun of your weight, Bern. Is that a weight joke?
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
In case anyone doesn't know, Bern has a whole video on the best donut shops here in San Diego, and it's like a 45-minute video.
It's only 28 minutes, Dan. Okay. And I had to cut that down to get it to 28 minutes. That's how long that video is.
Oh,
Sorry.
Burn, the Spaniard has made it. Maybe that's about time.
Oh, there he is. That's time to cut it off.
Here.
All right.
The Spaniard, people got played in the pandemic fantasy market, and now we are coming in for a hard landing. Fasten your seatbelts, just my opinion. My best friend is a big bond trader in New York City. Sorry, I'm just trying to be aggressive with all the things in all caps. He says, don't buy. Okay.
So Spaniard, how much? So say some neighborhoods here have dipped 15%. Are you predicting another 15%, another 30%? What are you predicting? Because if they go down 30%, I'm going to buy every house I can get my hands on.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing is you never know when the bottom is going to be until it's too late and people are buying up homes again.
Exactly.
All right, Star Platinum. They moved out of the home to Germany. She wants to sell.
Wait, who did? Sorry, I forgot what this was.
Did we miss that one?
They moved out of the house.
Oh, the neighbor that dropped the price.
Oh, got it.
90 to 660. They moved out of the house to Germany, so she wants to sell. So they're
I'm
just
surprised they haven't dropped it again then. So.
patiently waiting. I want a donut signed by Burn. Who is the autographed baseball from?
It's Mike Schmidt is the baseball I have there. I'm trying to collect more. I used to collect memorabilia when I was a kid. I'm trying to get back into it. So
Cool.
And my son's more into baseball cards now, so we're just trying to.
Well, Burn, we got some outro music today. Burn, I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, asked us a bunch of questions. We love doing these things. The more you guys tune in and ask questions, the more that we will do them. And I'm thinking maybe, Burn, we should do some of these on what's coming soon to San Diego, not just the real estate market.
Sure.
If you guys would like that, let us know in the comments down below. But we appreciate you all. Burn, go have a wonderful dinner with your family. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Dan. Bye, guys.